The war zone stretched across a region of space that had become infamous for chaos and destruction. Nebulae glowed faintly in the distance, asteroid fields drifted like debris-strewn graveyards, and the remnants of shattered ships floated silently in the void. For weeks, alien factions had clashed with each other and with local defenders, each side claiming victories, suffering losses, and ultimately leaving the battlefield in stalemate. Nothing seemed capable of shifting the balance, until now. From just beyond the outer edges of the conflict, sensors aboard the human monitoring station captured every movement. Every ship, every maneuver, every misstep was recorded and analyzed. Humanity did not rush into conflict. They observed, calculated, and waited for the perfect moment to intervene. Captain Alara Voss, commanding officer of the USS Dominion, reviewed the tactical data projected across the bridge's holographic display. "Their formations are fractured," she said softly, almost to herself. "They overextend, miscommunicate, and underestimate the battlefield. The moment to strike is approaching." Lieutenant Cade, stationed at the tactical console, nodded. "Right flank is weakest. Command coordination is inconsistent. They've exposed themselves in multiple sectors. If we act now, we can cut off leadership and neutralize their offensive simultaneously." Voss allowed herself a measured smile. "Exactly. We won't simply intervene. We'll dominate. One precise strike, and the war zone shifts entirely in our favor." Around them, the fleet lay hidden, cloaked by advanced stealth technology and positioned in vectors that allowed perfect coverage of the battlefield. Dreadnoughts bristled with railguns, plasma batteries hummed quietly, and drone swarms rested in hangars, awaiting deployment. Every crew member, from tactical officers to engineers, moved with practiced efficiency. Humanity did not rely solely on brute force, they relied on discipline, precision, and strategy. Meanwhile, alien commanders surveyed the ongoing chaos, oblivious to the human presence. Commander Tharvik, aboard his flagship, spoke with confidence to his officers. "The humans remain absent. Perhaps they are cautious, or perhaps weak. Continue our advance. Exploit the defenders' fatigue. Victory is within reach." Unknown to Tharvik, every calculation, every movement had been observed. Humans had anticipated every potential reaction and counterreaction. They did not need to strike recklessly, they needed only to wait, to allow their timing and control to convert the stalemate into absolute dominance. Hours passed. Alien forces continued to clash in fits of chaos, unaware that they were dancing along the edge of a trap meticulously laid by human intelligence. Every fractured fleet formation, every misaligned attack, every exhausted crew aboard enemy vessels had been noted, mapped, and stored in preparation for the moment of intervention. Finally, the signal was given. Silent, precise, and unstoppable, the human fleet began its calculated advance. Jump drives flared briefly, shields activated, and drone systems hummed in readiness. The war zone would change in an instant, and the galaxy would witness the true power of humanity, not through reckless aggression, but through mastery of strategy, timing, and technology. Captain Voss looked out at the stars, calm and unwavering. "We enter not to conquer recklessly, but to demonstrate what humanity is capable of. One fleet. One decisive action. That will be enough." As the fleet moved silently into position, the stars themselves seemed to pause, unaware that humanity's intervention was about to redefine the battlefield, and the galaxy's understanding of human power. The human fleet glided silently through the void, each vessel maintaining flawless formation. Cloaked by advanced stealth systems and carefully calculated trajectories, the ships approached the heart of the war zone without detection. The enemy, engaged in their own battles, remained unaware of the approaching force that would soon render their tactics meaningless. On the bridge of the USS Dominion, Captain Alara Voss monitored the fleet with meticulous attention. "All units, maintain course and speed. We do not engage prematurely," she ordered. Her tone was calm, but every word carried authority. "Timing is everything. Strike when it will matter most. Lieutenant Cade's eyes scanned the tactical display, highlighting weak points in the alien formations. Right flank is stretched thin. Command signals are erratic. If we position the fleet along these vectors, we can simultaneously cut off retreat and neutralize leadership without firing a single shot initially. Voss nodded. Prepare drones and railguns for immediate deployment. Engines and shields at maximum standby. Every crew member must be ready for coordinated execution. We strike not with chaos, but with precision. The Dominion's sensors picked up subtle changes in enemy movement, minor adjustments in formation, small vessels attempting to regroup, but the aliens remained oblivious to the true scale of the human fleet. They assumed observation, not intervention. They underestimated humanity. Across the Warzone, alien commanders discussed their strategy. Commander Tharvik's voice trembled slightly with excitement and overconfidence. The humans have not entered. Perhaps they wait, but our advantage grows with every passing hour. Push forward and finish the defenders. What Tharvik did not know was that every move, every maneuver, had been anticipated. The human fleet had run millions of simulations, accounting for every variable. This was not a battle of attrition. It was a surgical strike, timed and calculated to achieve total control in a matter of moments. The first jump sequences began. Human ships phased briefly through hyperspace, appearing at multiple strategic vectors around the enemy. Alien sensors flared in confusion. Ships that had been confident in their formations now faced anomalies they could not explain. The battlefield, once steady in chaos, began to tilt imperceptibly toward the humans. Voss' voice cut through the calm on the bridge. Engage electronic disruption. Do not fire yet. Let their systems falter under confusion and panic. Our strike is not the first act. They will cripple themselves before we intervene fully. Drone swarms surged forward, invisible to the enemy, latching onto critical systems aboard alien vessels. Engines stuttered and failed, communication arrays sparked, and weapons misfired without explanation. Ships that had once coordinated perfectly now drifted, aimless and vulnerable. Lieutenant Cade smiled faintly, observing the predicted collapse of the enemy fleet. It's working exactly as planned. Leadership vessels losing synchronization. Flanks collapsing. Panic spreading faster than expected. Voss allowed herself a small, controlled smile. That is the power of patience and calculation. They believed absence was weakness. They were wrong. Humanity does not act recklessly, we dominate with precision. The human fleet, poised and silent, awaited the signal to strike decisively. The battlefield trembled, not from weapons fire, but from the invisible, inevitable force of strategy. Within moments the Warzone would belong entirely to humanity, not through chaotic violence, but through controlled, absolute superiority. And somewhere in the fragmented alien lines, the first whispers of fear began to spread, as the presence of humanity became undeniable, even before a single shot had been fired. The moment arrived. The human flagship, USS Dominion, decloaked in the heart of the Warzone, instantly becoming the focal point of every sensor in the sector. Alien commanders blinked in disbelief, unable to comprehend the sudden appearance of a ship so massive, so meticulously armed, and so perfectly positioned. Silence rippled through the enemy fleet, a pause born not of fear alone, but of shock at the scale of humanity's precision. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the alien formations. Target leadership vessels first. Focus fire on command cores, propulsion systems, and weapon arrays. Drones, deploy immediately. Let's show them the consequences of underestimation. Lieutenant Cade's hands moved rapidly across the tactical console. Command vessels identified and locked. Drone swarms en route. Enemy formations destabilizing. Some ships are already drifting out of formation, systems failing. The first railgun volleys streaked across space, piercing alien hulls with deadly accuracy. Engines erupted in sparks and flame, shields collapsed, and communication arrays went silent. Alien crews scrambled to respond, but their frantic commands collided with failed systems and misfiring weapons. Every attempt at coordination faltered under the weight of human precision. Swarm drones weaved through enemy formations, targeting engines, weapons, and critical subsystems. The aliens had never encountered anything like it. Machines that disabled ships without destroying them outright, leaving them adrift and vulnerable. Chaos spread instantly, their fleet scattering into disconnected pockets with no command, no cohesion. Commander Tharvik barked orders from his flagship, his voice trembling with disbelief. "Concentrate fire. Target the intruder." "Do not." His command was interrupted by system failures, engines stuttering and weapons going offline. Panic surged through his officers as the realization set in. The humans were not simply powerful, they were in control of the battlefield itself. The human fleet moved like a single organism. Railguns fired in synchronized volleys, plasma batteries delivered precise strikes, and drone swarms neutralized attempts at escape. Every move was calculated, every attack anticipated the enemy's reactions before they could even begin. Ships attempting to flee were intercepted by interdiction frigates, trapped in carefully orchestrated kill zones. On the Dominion's bridge, Voss remained composed. "Maintain focus on command ship. Minor vessels are irrelevant unless they attempt escape. Precision, not chaos, defines this strike." Minutes passed, but in the disoriented eyes of the aliens, it felt like an eternity. Entire squadrons were disabled before they could react. Leadership vessels fell, engines failed, and weapons arrays sputtered uselessly. The once feared fleet had become a collection of drifting hulks, utterly incapable of resistance. Lieutenant Cade looked at the display, awe in his voice. They thought numbers and firepower would win. One fleet, and their entire command structure is dismantled before they even understood what happened. Voss allowed herself a faint smile. This is why humans fight differently. We do not rely solely on strength. We dominate with calculation, timing, and absolute control. The battlefield, once contested and chaotic, now belonged entirely to the human fleet. Alien ships that remained intact drifted aimlessly, morale shattered, systems crippled, and command lost. Humanity had intervened decisively, demonstrating that even a single fleet, deployed with precision and strategy, could determine the fate of an entire warzone. The Terran fleet paused, observing the result. The warzone was theirs, but this was not mindless victory. It was a demonstration of control, discipline, and lethal efficiency. The galaxy would remember this day. The arrival of humanity was not a warning, it was an immutable truth. Chapter 4. The warzone, once chaotic and contested, now lay under the unshakable control of humanity. Alien vessels drifted in disarray, their engines sputtering, weapons offline, and communication arrays shattered. The human fleet, led by the USS Dominion, moved methodically, ensuring that no enemy ship could regroup or escape unnoticed. Every action was deliberate, every strike calculated for maximum effect and minimal waste. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge, her gaze sweeping across the holographic displays. "Maintain vigilance. There may still be pockets of resistance, but the operation remains under our control," she instructed. Her voice was calm, conveying authority and confidence that resonated across the fleet. Lieutenant Cade monitored residual enemy activity. Command vessels disabled, most of the fleet either drifting or fleeing. Minor resistance detected, but systems remain compromised. Morale is effectively zero. Any attempt at regrouping would be futile. Voss nodded. "Excellent. This is what dominance looks like. Not mindless destruction, but strategic precision. Let them understand the consequences of underestimating humanity." Across the battlefield, the remaining alien commanders attempted desperate coordination. Frantic signals flickered through their shattered networks, but responses were fragmented and ineffective. Even the most disciplined crews could not overcome the precision and control of the Terran fleet. Panic had spread like wildfire, leaving ships vulnerable and directionless. Drone swarms moved with purposeful intent, attaching to engines and weapons systems, neutralizing threats without unnecessary casualties. Smaller human frigates intercepted escape attempts, forcing alien vessels into controlled zones where their vulnerabilities could be exploited. Railgun volleys and plasma strikes targeted command hubs and critical systems, ensuring no vessel retained operational capacity. One alien dreadnought tried to mount a last-minute counterattack, firing a volley of plasma at approaching human frigates. Drones intercepted every missile, disabling engines and weaponry simultaneously. Another cruiser attempted to escape through an asteroid field, only to find interdiction drones blocking its path while railgun fire crippled its propulsion systems. Commander Tharvik's voice trembled aboard his crippled flagship. How can a single fleet control everything? They anticipate every move, every maneuver. How is this possible? Voss observed quietly, her tone measured. They mistook absence for weakness. They did not account for strategy, patience, or precision. Humanity does not fight recklessly, we orchestrate the battlefield itself. As the last enemy pockets were neutralized, the Terran fleet began to stabilize the warzone. Ships were methodically repositioned to monitor escape routes and prevent regrouping. Every destroyed system, every disabled vessel, and every surviving alien crew had become part of a clear, deliberate demonstration. The humans controlled the fight, the battlefield, and the outcome. Captain Voss addressed the fleet. The war zone is under control. The enemy has learned the cost of underestimating us. Remember, this is not chaos, it is discipline, precision, and inevitability. Humanity has arrived, and the galaxy must take note. The alien forces, scattered and broken, began to retreat in fragmented clusters. Their power had been neutralized, their leadership destroyed, and their confidence shattered. The human fleet, calm and unshaken, held position, ensuring total dominance. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to pause. In the silent aftermath, the message was clear. Humans did not merely intervene, they controlled, calculated, and prevailed. No enemy could challenge them without facing the full force of strategy and technological mastery. And as the Terran fleet glided forward, ready to move on to the next theater of influence, the galaxy realized an undeniable truth. Underestimating humanity was no longer an option. The war zone, once a theater of endless conflict, now lay completely under human control. Alien fleets, once feared across multiple systems, drifted in helpless disarray. Ships that had seemed unstoppable were now powerless, engines sputtering, weapons offline, and command structures shattered. The Terran fleet moved methodically through the wreckage, ensuring no vessel could regroup or mount a counterattack. Humanity's presence was absolute, precise, and unyielding. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the USS Dominion, her calm demeanor reflecting the efficiency of the operation. "Confirm all threats neutralized," she instructed. "No surprises. We leave nothing to chance." Lieutenant Cade scanned the battlefield, reporting succinctly. All remaining command vessels disabled. Minor alien ships drifting aimlessly. Morale collapsed entirely. The fleet is intact and fully operational. No unexpected resistance detected. The surviving alien commanders were scattered, some fleeing through distant jump points, others hiding in debris fields. Every attempt at coordination was thwarted. Panic spread through the remaining forces like wildfire, and the galaxy would soon hear of this unparalleled demonstration of human strategy. Voss's voice, calm and resolute, echoed through the bridge. "This is what humanity is capable of when strategy, discipline, and technology combine. One fleet, one decisive action, and an entire war zone can be dominated without reckless destruction." Drone swarms retracted to the Dominion and accompanying ships, ready for redeployment but inactive. The battlefield was silent, yet the devastation spoke volumes. Humans had struck decisively, yet with restraint. No civilian worlds had been harmed, no unnecessary destruction had been inflicted. The victory was total, surgical, and undeniable. Lieutenant Cade allowed himself a rare smile. They thought numbers alone would win. One fleet changed the outcome in hours, not weeks. The galaxy will remember this. Voss nodded slightly, her gaze fixed on the stars ahead. Let this serve as a reminder. Strength without discipline is meaningless. Humanity does not rely solely on firepower. We dominate through calculation, foresight, and control. The galaxy has witnessed what a single fleet can accomplish. As the USS Dominion and the Terran fleet began a coordinated withdrawal, the aliens fled in fragmented clusters, forever changed by their encounter. The Warzone lay in ruins, but the lesson was clear. Underestimating humanity was a mistake no civilization could survive. From distant systems, observers would report the same story. One human fleet, precise and unstoppable, had altered the course of the conflict in mere hours. Commanders would recount the terror of facing a force that struck not with chaos, but with surgical, unrelenting efficiency. The Terran fleet moved forward, calm and unshaken, leaving a silent, conquered battlefield behind. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors seeking revenge, but as a force whose presence demanded recognition, respect, and caution. The galaxy would never again mistake humanity's discipline, intelligence, and power. One fleet had changed everything, demonstrating that the stars belonged not to chance, but to those who could calculate, dominate, and prevail. And so, as the fleet slipped into the darkness of space, the lesson was immortal. Humans fight differently, and no one, not fleets, not empires, not alliances, could ignore the truth any longer.